What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Happy Monday to you all. Do not forget that we will be on Giving You the Real Teas channel tonight around 8:30-ish Eastern Standard Time to talk about last night's episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, you guys know that Kandi always does a speak on it post-show to sort of give the behind the scenes, her 2 cents, blah, 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 on what happened. We also had Carlos interviewing Martell this weekend, and I was going to do two separate interviews, but because a major part of both of those things involved both of them, the whole Martell Kenya thing, and Kenya was on speak on it this week. So because a major part of it overlaps, I was like, we're just gonna do one video, child, and we're gonna do it like that. Okay. Okay. So let me say hi to the people, and then we're gonna get into this. Hey, Lemon Kush, what's up, Morgan? Hey, Amber, Mimi, Blue, Baby Blue Prada Shoes. Hey, what's up, Fran J, Keisha, Cross Country Cruiser. Hey, hey, hey. Um, I always get to your name, and I always feel like I'm gonna mess it up. Ed Rails, Ed Rails. I hope I said that right. You saw Kandi speak on it, and you thought it was fire. I guess we'll talk about it. Brandon, hey, Ella, what's up, boo? Hey, Miss Thing, Yolanda. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Quake Simmons. Hey, what's up, Kenya? Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. From you and your daughter, Layla. Hey, Layla. So, yes, let me share this out, and then we're going to get this party started. So, I guess this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the speak on it, and then we'll do the Martell because I have more to say about the whole Martell situation. With Carlos, I have more to say about that. So we'll start with the speak on it. Um, really, Real Housewives of Atlanta seems so over. I can't wait for the Real Housewives of Miami to start up in December. Thank you, really be. Well, thank you. Hey, powerful. So let's get into it. So Kandi did her speak on it last night, and her special guest, was Kenya. And of course, the majority of the conversation was about the whole Martell thing. Um, so a couple of things that Kenya said. I have my notes. Let me look at my notes because I want to make sure I kind of cover everything that I kind of want to cover. So first of all, she started off with shade. She started off talking about Sheree. She said Sheree is she because they were like Sheree always wants to throw in their face that she's an OG. And Kenya was like, she might be an OG, but we've been here longer. She said because she's been fired twice. And she came back 1 year. She only did that 1 year, then she left, and she came back as a friend of, and then she got her peach back. She was like, so she's really like the most. So yeah, she technically is an OG, but she really is like the most fired housewife. Now I don't know if that's true because honestly, I ain't about to sit here and go through all of the franchises and figure out who been fired and brought back more times than Sheree. But she definitely is probably in the top three. Um, but it was shady. It was Kenya, and it was shady. They talked about the other shady comment that she made about calling Sheree Shira. And Kenya was like, well, I don't know why she would be offended by that. I mean, she knows that she's muscular and she got them big arms. And Kandi was like, girl, you know that was shady. Like, come on. No woman wants to be compared to Shira. Like, girl, you know that's shady. Um, Now, let me go ahead and throw this in here. Child, Sheree and Kenya have been tweeting at each other. I only have a few here because, child, I probably don't have all of them because they probably been tweeting all damn day, child. But I have a few of them here, so let me read y'all the ones that I have. So somebody wrote, no, Kenya wrote, excuse me. I call it the way I see it. By calling a man or woman aggressive, if they were behaving that way, doesn't mean I'm saying all are. False hashtag false narrative, hashtag y'all tried it. And of course, that was because, Sheree and Sonya got together and they were basically saying that Kenya always want to call a black man aggressive and how she needs to get away from always wanting to address a black man as aggressive and she need to get away from that narrative. So then Sheree said 6 months ago, why didn't you say anything at the reunion at Kenya Moore hashtag RHOA? Kenya said you weren't official then. Happy Mother's Day. Now I'm gonna be honest, we're gonna come back to that one because on that one, I wish Sheree on that. Like, regardless of whether we are an official couple or not, if you think the guy that I'm potentially trying to get into a situation with, if you feel like there's something I need to know, if you really my friend, you're gonna tell me, like, why would you wait till you think I'm serious about him to drop a bomb? Why wouldn't you tell me when it's still like real light and it ain't that serious and be like, well, girl, I mean, I know you're not that serious, but I just feel like I need to give you this 411. You know what I'm saying? So then we have Courtney, the one that was calling bobblehead. They was calling her bobblehead last night, child. So now it's a problem for a woman to be passionate when speaking. Anything I say, trust I mean it. I was just saying that I don't have to clout chase, and I don't. Hashtag RHOA. Then she said, it's always best when men stay out of women's business. Yikes. LOL, RHOA. Oh, Lord. And I'm sure that was directed towards what's Kenya's friend business he works with. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Oh, I can see his face. Um Y'all know who I'm talking about. Part of the Kandi crew. Um Don Juan. I feel like that was probably directed at Don Juan because I feel like Don Juan was, they got that comment, they got that time, they showed Don Juan doing what Don Juan does, defending Kandi, having Kandi's back or whatever. Some people say he gets in their business, he says too much. That's been the narrative with Don Juan going back to when him and Portia got into it and all that stuff, child. Kenya says, though somebody wrote, Kenya shows up for Sheree with her relationships. You can't ignore Martell's behavior towards Mel and Ariane. Kenya answered after Tyrone stood her up. She told Bob his jokes weren't funny. Marlo has never. She gave her a shopping experience that she had to pay for. And Kenya responded, "This I don't play about these me. I think she meant to say these men. I'm always going to have the woman's back, even when they didn't have mine." And then Kenya wrote, "What you won't do in 2023 is disrespect the queen." So that maybe Kenya did think the relationship was fake. I understand that, and maybe that's what it was. But if we're just right now, we're gonna walk down the road of this is a real situation, and Kenya was her friend. If you really felt some kind of way, I feel like you should have brought it up then. But I understand maybe that's what Kenya ain't saying. Maybe she don't want to say that publicly and say, "Well, I ain't really think this was no real relationship." Okay. All right. So let's get back. So I wrote that in my notes, tweets. So that's so I wouldn't forget to tell y'all the tweets because there's been some tweets. It's been some information I've been trying to tell y'all for 3 days about what Andy Cohen said in his new book, and I keep forgetting to tell y'all because we keep getting sidetracked on other stuff, child. But okay, let me get back to my notes. Okay, so the other thing I thought was interesting is that Kenya already had an opinion about Martell because Kenya said that she is a fan of Love and Marriage Huntsville and that she has been watching it from episode 1. So that tells me that you have seen the same things that we have seen as it relates to Martell on the show. You've seen the comments he's made. You've seen his sometimes aggressive behavior. You probably aren't a big fan of the fact that he had a child outside of his marriage, So I feel like your opinion of Martell is not as innocent as you tried to make it seem like. Like, oh, oh, Martell, but I will say this. Kenya did last season. At the reunion, Kenya did make a comment. If I remember correctly, y'all quote me if I'm wrong. I mean, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like didn't Kenya make a comment about Martell at the reunion? Dang nabbit. Shoot, I just dropped the top to my water. About Martell being um a cheater. I feel like she brought that up because I feel like she asked Sheree, "Well, aren't you worried about what he did to his ex-wife or something like that?" I feel like, now correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I feel like she brought that up. Did she bring that up, or am I tripping? Am I just remembering that incorrectly? Okay, all right. So I thought that was interesting. Are there people who really don't think Martell's aggressive? I don't know. They may be. I don't know. So I'm gonna get to this whole tutorial. I'm gonna get to this whole tutorial on IG thing in a minute because Kandi gave us a whole tutorial on Instagram about the message, who saw it, who didn't see it, what you could, what you couldn't see. We're gonna get to that in a second because we're gonna get to that in a second. Kandi seemed like she was a little irritated about the producers trying to make her talk about the shooting incident. So let me say this, and I feel like Kenya was being a good friend when Kenya said, "Well, girl, I mean, it is the elephant in the room." And Melvin did walk up in there with that big old slang on his arm, and everybody knew what happened. Now I understand what Kandi said. Well, it was an ongoing, criminal investigation, and there wasn't a lot that he could say. And I understand that, but you could at least address what we all knew happened. She did ask him, "How you feeling?" But all he really said was, "I'm good." So I feel like you could have went a little deeper. Um, but I understand, as a family, as a business owner, I understand that you ain't really want to go too deep into it. But the producer did what he was supposed to do. Now, what I did not like, and we got to remember, we're dealing with the same producers that did Real Housewives of Potomac. So you will see that the production style is very similar. The production style is very similar. It's the same production company, the same executive producer, the same guy that Candace talked to, pulled to the side and talked to in that first episode about Giselle and how she felt about what Giselle was trying to do. It's the same producer that rolled up on Kandi last night. I did not like that they showed that, because I feel like by them showing that, I feel like they were insinuating something by them showing that they had to stop the camera and get Kandi. Well, not literally, not stop the camera, but they had to stop the scene and basically talk to Kandi um, about that. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't. But just like Kandi said in her confessional, she said, "We had an incident. This is what happened." I feel like that was enough. The only thing in that scene is that they could have just addressed the fact that that's why he walking around with that slang, since everybody knew anyway. But I definitely understand why. Hey, Lady of Virtue. Hey, everybody coming in. But I definitely understand why they didn't just come right out and be like, "So, how did it feel to get shot?" You know what I mean? Like, that's an awkward segue. But she said it in the confessional, baby blue Prada shoes. She said it in the confessional, but the producer was trying to get her to say it in the conversation. And again, as a producer, that is your job, and I'm not mad at the producer for saying, "Okay, girl, are we going to address the elephant in the room?" What I didn't like was the fact that they broke the fourth wall and showed us that, because I feel like they were trying to insinuate something. I didn't like that, because I feel like they were trying to maybe make it seem like Kandi was trying to hide something, or you know what I mean. I don't know. I just didn't like the way they broke the fourth wall and did that behind the scenes moment. I didn't like it. Um, but Kandi did address it in the confessional. She explained in the confessional, which I felt like was fine, because I feel like I knew when he sat down and Kandi said, "How you feeling?" I knew she was asking him about his arm, because I knew, and I guess I knew what happened. And the thing is, I guess we can't assume that everybody knows. We can't assume that everybody watches the blogs and reads every story that comes out about Real Housewives of Atlanta. Like, we can't assume that. So the producer was doing his job. I just didn't like him showing it. So Kandi addressed that in her speak on it, and um, you could tell she was a little irritated by that. They showed the truth. Was after the bed was able to speak on it compared to when the producer said something vacation. Call Callie girl, I think you're trying to type kind of fast because I'm kind of getting what you're saying. I think I understand what you're saying. Um, but I'm missing. I'm some words are a little off. I think you. I don't know if you're typing fast and it's autocorrect or you driving or something like that. Um. So yeah, that's just my only thing. Like I said, I didn't like the way because they. Let's be clear. Producers do that all the time. Let's be clear. Producers have to. Matter of fact, they even said it. Kenya and Kandi even said they do that all the time. They'll stop them and say, "Okay, we need y'all to talk about this. We need y'all to talk about that." So they do it all the time. I just didn't understand why in this particular moment they felt the need to show us that behind the scenes. That's the part I was like, why you gotta do that? Melvin is like a son to her because he lived with her for a while, so I think she was trying not to trick. Yeah, and she said that in her speak on it. She did say that. And like I said, they say that the production does that all the time. Production will stop them all the time and say, okay, we need you to get to the point. Like you here to talk about da 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 da. So I didn't understand why that particular scene, we needed to know that. You see what I'm saying? Um, Jonathan, I'm not. You wear me out. Oh, you wear me out. I just can't say nothing nice about Kandi. God darn. Kandi speaking in the confessional was after the investigation, so she was able to speak on it during the scene. They couldn't. Um, the producers were rushing Kandi and told to talk about what happened. Right, and that's what I'm saying. So to address what Jonathan just said, they do not tell me how many times we've seen production show us that they're trying to get them to talk about something. You tell me how many times we've seen that, Jonathan. And I would have said the same thing about anybody. I didn't think it was necessary. They could have cut, they could have talked to them, and then they could have started filming again like they've done a million times. You can watch these shows and tell when they pivot a conversation. It happens all the time. We just don't always see it. That's my only point. Um, but anyway, so Kandi brought that up. What else? What else? What else? Okay. Kandi asked Kenya about the divorce and why is it taking so long. Um, um, hey Kimmy Nicole, how you doing? Right, I am diva. That's my only point. I didn't feel like it was necessary in that moment to break the fourth wall. And I don't know if people not understanding what I'm saying or people just don't want to agree with what I'm saying, which is fine either way. But I just didn't understand. I didn't feel like it was necessary in that moment. I don't care if it was Kandi or anybody else. And we have not seen that a lot. We've seen conversations where but we've not seen production literally show us talking about a scene. That does not happen a lot. It doesn't. Now, does production do it? Yes. But do they show us? No, that doesn't happen a lot. Anyway, moving on. So Kenya explained about her divorce situation. Now I know the other day we got into a little debate. Well, we didn't get into no debate because I wasn't debating it, but people were debating about whether Kenya was Brooklyn's mother. Like I wasn't debating that. There's no doubt in my mind that that's her mother. Um, what is breaking the fourth wall? That just means that you see what's going on behind the scenes. That just means anytime you see production come in or you see them talking to production, that's breaking the fourth wall. The fourth wall is that imaginary wall between the audience and what we're looking at, like the show. So whenever they allow you to see behind, it's like going behind the curtain. That's breaking the fourth wall. So anytime you're looking, and you see it on reality more than you see it on pretty much anything else. But it's like when you look at a reality show and you see production, like what we saw last night, production come in and say, hey, so we're not going to address the elephant in the room. That's breaking the fourth wall. When you see them talk to the producers, right? If you see them filming a scene and they actually address somebody that's part of production, that's breaking the fourth wall. Um, a lot of times when you see fights, when they have these fights or these altercations, and you see production come in and production talking to people and addressing certain things, that's breaking the fourth wall. So, child, Quake, we look, that ship has sailed, child. We know this ain't no reality, child. That ship has sailed. Um, so this is the way he explained it. And let me say this, y'all. I am nobody's divorce attorney, and I can't say none of y'all are, but the majority of y'all are not either. Plus, the divorce laws vary from state to state. So I can only go by what Kenya is saying. I'm not gonna sit here and tell this woman that she lied about her divorce proceedings. But she said that in the beginning, she did not file for divorce in the beginning. Um, you like seeing them break? Yeah, we've seen them break the fourth wall before. We have. Um, Kenya said that in the beginning she did not file for divorce because she was not ready for her marriage to be over. However, in the process of her and Mark, I guess, figuring out what they were going to do, whether they was going to stay together or not stay together, she did have to file. She did file for custody. She didn't say have to. I don't want to put words in her mouth. She did file for custody because she said that Mark was trying to stop her from being able to do things as it related to Brooklyn, specifically filming. Remember, Mark temporarily was successful in getting permission for, or getting Kenya to not be able to film with Brooklyn. And Kenya said that, the daughter lived with her. She was her, 100% caregiver, always lived with her, never lived with the father. And so she had to establish custody. She said she filed for custody first because she really at that time was not interested in getting divorced. So once custody was settled by that time, then she wanted to file divorce. So she filed for the divorce, and she said that's why it's taking it out. But I think the one thing that Kenya didn't say, part of the reason why her divorce is taking so long is because she didn't have a prenup. If she had had a prenup, listen, when y'all see these divorces, now we know that sometimes people do contest divorces, but when you hear about these people that file for divorce and then like 6 months later the divorce is final, like look at is it Tamara and Corey Hardwick? It ain't even been a year. It hasn't even been a year. You know, um, who else had a quick divorce recently? Somebody else recently. I was like, damn, they divorced already. Somebody else had a real quick divorce very recently. Um, It's Tia. I always get them mixed up. Tia and her husband, and somebody else. Who? It's somebody else. I feel like they just filed for separate. They just filed for divorce, and the divorce was final. Usually, yeah, Smollett. She had a quick divorce because I swear. But usually, um, when you see these people with these quick divorces, Kim and, well, I don't think that theirs wasn't quick. They still not divorced. I don't think. I think Kim just is legally, whatever the legal term is, that she can basically legally live her life as a single woman. I don't think their divorce is final yet. Cynthia's, I think that's what Cynthia's was quick because there's a prenup in place and they hadn't been married that long. I know in Cynthia's situation, Brad Pitt and Angela are divorcing forever longer than the marriage. Yeah, but see, they're fighting over business. They're fighting over a lot of that money. They're fighting over a lot of the businesses, that vineyard and all that stuff. So that's what's making their divorce very complicated. Is that they're fighting over the fact that they built a lot of businesses together while they were divorced. So they are divorced. He's remarried. Child, Kanye ain't no damn remarried, but maybe they are. But you're right. I do remember them saying he remarried. So I guess the divorce is final, child. I did forget about that. I forgot about T. Jones. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Um, They said he married, so I guess so. Okay, I forgot about that, y'all. Y'all right, they divorced. Y'all right, they divorced. Y'all right. Y'all right. I forgot about that child. But I don't think he's really remarried. I don't think that's a real marriage, but that's, anyway. So, yeah, Kenya didn't have a prenup. According to her, she said it on the show. She said it at the reunion. I don't know why Kenya didn't get a prenup, but listen, I guess that ship has sailed. Thank you, L Love, for the cash app. Thank you, my love, for the cash app. Thank you much. Um, Let me go back to my notes. So now those are the notes as it relates to some of the other stuff they talked about. They talked about Sonya. I don't know if I care about all that, child. They talked about Courtney, child. We don't care about that. They just said that the situation with Courtney gets worse before it gets better, child. Between her and Kandi. Now let me say this. This whole Martell sliding in the DM situation, one, I'm over it. I'm just over it. That's number one. But number two, oh, hold on, y'all. Uh-uh. What I do? Hold on, y'all. Okay, there it is. I'm gonna say I hit a button. Um, I don't care. I don't think it's that deep. I don't think it's that serious. I really thought that Kenya, when we heard about this we heard about all this before the show. Oh, Martell was sliding into the DMs and this and this. I really thought it was gonna be something, but it's not. And the fact that Kenya and Kandi, here you go, Jonathan, you're gonna appreciate this. The fact that Kenya and Kandi spent 20 minutes of speak on it, giving us for Kandi to give us a tutorial on how Instagram works to prove that Martell did DM Kenya, and that he did delete the messages from his side. And why did he delete them if they didn't say something he didn't want them to say? First and foremost, like Martell said, and y'all may not like the delivery of what he said, but like Martell said, and if I was trying to fuck you, that was 2 years ago. Like, I don't think it's that serious. Now, if it really was 6 months ago, then we got a conversation. But you still can't prove what this man said. All you can show is that he DM'd you and you never responded. So even if, let's walk down that road, even if he DM'd you with bad intentions, even if he DM'd you with the intent to try to date you or push up on you or even have sex with you, even if that's what his intention was, number one, you never even responded. So why the does it matter? And number two, it was 2 years ago, ma'am. Are you serious? Are we really sitting here discussing something that happened 2 years ago? Now, Martell showed the one message that basically was, "Thank you so much for your kind words." They were insisting that he had sent more than one message. Maybe the second message did say, "Well, the next time I'm in Atlanta, let me buy you a drink." Okay. Maybe the next message did say, "Hey, I'm going to be in Atlanta this weekend. Let's hook up." Maybe the message said, "I think you sexy as hell. Let me climb on that." Like, it could have said any of those things, but you know what? We'll never know. We won't never know. You know why? Because it was deleted. Ma'am, if you were so concerned, Kenya, if you were so concerned, Kenya, you would have responded to his message. I'm just saying. And y'all know how much I hate to have to agree with people that I don't really with like that. And I don't with Martell like that. But I'm with Martell on this one. Like, it's so not that serious. Like, you really put 20 on 10 and made a whole 2 episodes out of this shit. Kenya was like, "Did you curse at this black queen?" Child, he did. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that Martell's response was a lot, and I do think that he was low key calling her a hoe, and I do think that he was, I listen. I don't defend that. I don't defend that. But again, you watched the show, Kenya. You said you've been watching Love and Marriage Huntsville from episode 1, so you know who you're dealing with. And I'm not defending Martell when it comes to that. I'm just saying you knew if you pushed him hard enough, you knew you were gonna get that. You knew if you challenged him as a woman, because we know that Martell does not like to be challenged, but he don't like to be challenged by anybody, but damn sure not no woman. You knew you was gonna get it, because you knew that's what he gives. And I'm not saying that makes it okay. Well, he needs to stand on it and stop lying. What has he lied about? He hasn't lied. Now, he did say at first that he didn't DM her, but then he came back and was like, oh, you know what? I did. I did it 2 years ago. Let's be real. He did it 2 years ago. He might have really forgotten that he damn DM'd her. It was 2 years ago and she never responded. Like, I'm sorry. Martell probably slid into a whole lot of people DMs. Can you probably ain't the only celebrity that he done probably tried to slide into the DMs? Let's be real. So do you think 2 years ago he remembered that he sent Kenya one damn DM 2 years ago? Probably not. Martell a hoe. Thank God somebody on this show brings it all these chicks can be born. 70 child, they born that child. Now Kenya was like, well, he said that all he said was thank you for the kind words, but he had already said that underneath the post of the blog post. He had already said that under the blog post. He had already said that under the blog post, and I'm like, but that doesn't mean he can't say it again. I do it all the time. If I respond under somebody's post on Instagram, and I know that they're the type of person that get a lot of responses, I'll send them a DM. I do it all the time. Why does Kenya have to respond to the message? She made a statement. He jumped into her DM. She never said anything about what the messages said. She doesn't like how he treated Melody. I didn't say she had to respond to the DMs. I'm saying she never responded to the DMs. Listen, I ain't about to sit here and make Martell out to be no saint. Martell is a hoe. And Martell may very well have been using that DM to open the door. I ain't about to sit here and say anything different. All I'm saying is I feel like they put 20 on 10. They turned this into something way bigger than it ever was. I don't even see why it's important. Like, I just don't see what the issue is. I just don't. But anyway, who wouldn't slide in Kenya's DM? She's gorgeous, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want y'all to think that I'm saying that Martell didn't do it with any type of intent to maybe try to start something. He may very well have. But I just think that I think personally that this was done for a storyline. That's it. And then when she said that she's a fan of the show and she's been watching the show from episode 1, I said, "Oh, well, you know Martell Hope for his works, so you know what it gives." Right, Amber. We talking about something we'll never know, child. You ain't lying. So I do feel like the point was he tried to hook up with Candy's cousin, DM Kenya. He finally got his sugar mama. I hope he don't think Sheree is a sugar mama because Sheree ain't got no money. Not sugar mama money. She might have, let's go on a vacation money, but she ain't got no. Y'all still gonna be buying a ticket on the plane. Y'all ain't gonna be, flying private. I don't see that being no sugar mama, but so that was pretty much that side of it. Okay, now Sheree got Bob's money. Sheree gets a percentage of Bob's retirement, child. That ain't no independently wealthy money. Is it living comfortably money? Sure. Is it independently wealthy money? I don't think so. That's my opinion. I don't know that woman bank account. That's just my opinion. Um, I agree, Quake. I agree. Now that I agree with that he was trying to get on Atlanta, and he was trying to get at Mel because he know Mel want to be on Atlanta. I agree with you 100%. 100%. Now that I agree with you 100%. Um, Now let's get to the Carlos Martel interview. I'm going to start with Martel's version of what happened with the DMs, which I feel like I've already covered. But I listen, after tonight, after the whether you like it or not panel chat, I don't want to talk about this DM gate no more because I just don't care that much. I don't. I just don't care that much. Um, and see, here's the problem for me. I can't speak for y'all, but for me, here's the problem with production giving us too much too soon. By the time we got to the show, I was curious to hear the Martel slid into Kenya's DM story, but for me the story was lackluster. You see what I'm saying? Whereas if we didn't know anything about that storyline, if we didn't know anything about that storyline, I think we would be more vested in it at this point. I think we'd be like, what? Oh, and he lying, and we know. But I think we had way too much time to dissect it, and for us to get to and be like, so we don't even know what the man said. Oh, okay. Anyway, Martel's version of the story is pretty much what we've already covered. Um, he said that the interview was done. Kenya said some nice things about him. He said, he sent her the message saying, I appreciate or thank you for the kind words. And Kenya never responded, and basically he moved on. Like he didn't really think no more about it. And I feel like, and I know everybody ain't gonna agree with me, and that's fine, that's fine. But I feel like that's pretty much how it went down. Again, did he use it as an open door? Yeah, sure. Okay. If Kenya had responded and said, you're welcome. I just love to see a black man trying to be a good father. I don't know, y'all. I'm just making up a sentence. Could he have followed up with, well, I'm gonna be in Atlanta next weekend. You want to grab a drink? Maybe, maybe. But I think it really went down pretty much. And I mean, we know Martell is a liar. We're about to get to Martell in a minute. We know Martell is a damn liar. But I just think in this situation, I think we have the general story. I think we do. Um, so that's that. Like I said, after tonight on the whether you like it or not panel, child, I don't want to talk about this thing no more. I don't want to talk about this thing no more. So let's get to that. Look, I ain't had that many notes on Speak on It because Speak on It ain't really give me a whole lot. But baby, I got a lot of notes on Martell and Carlos. First of all, once again, Carlos started the interview off by throwing shade, and I feel like, and I feel, well, what? And I feel like he was throwing shade at Kandi because he said something about, well, I have a few questions to ask you, but unlike some people, I'm not going to ask all the questions or answer all the questions before the reunion. And I felt like he was throwing, and maybe it's just me because I know him and Kandi kind of got this thing going on right now. So maybe he wasn't talking about Kandi, but I was just thinking about who Kandi and Dr. Heavenly are really the only main. I ain't gonna say they're the only ones, but they're really the only main people that do these recaps of their own shows. I feel like, and I don't feel like he was talking about Dr. Heavenly. I think he was talking about Kandi. But I don't. I mean, y'all put it in the comments. Who else? I mean, Karen tried to do it, but she wasn't consistent. She tried to do the recap thing, but we got one recap. I think we got what, 4 recaps the whole season from Karen, and it really only she only recapped an episode when she felt like she had to defend herself, or she felt like she had to address something that related to her. Like she didn't really recap every single episode, no matter what. So Karen don't really count. Um, I really can't think of any of the other shows that do the consistent recaps. I think Dr. Heavenly and Kandi are probably the most consistent. Um, I mean, if y'all can think of somebody else, tell me. So that's why I felt like he was throwing shade at Kandi, when he said that. But again, when you throw a rock, you can't help who it hit because that hit Dr. Heavenly too, child. Um, which video, child? All of them make these videos. Which video, Xavier? Hold on, y'all. Give me a second. Karen should never do a recap because she was boring and couldn't focus on the show. Let me tell you why Karen should never do a recap. Now, the one thing I will say, and I know the Jonathans of the world are not going to agree with what I'm getting ready to say, but one thing that I like about the reason why Karen should not do recaps is because Karen doesn't want to be honest. Karen doesn't want to be honest. Karen doesn't want to be honest. Kandi and Dr. Heavenly, they are raw. Whether you like it or not, they are just raw. And Karen was trying to be fluffy about everything. You know what I'm saying? That's so she don't need to recap nothing. And y'all know I like Karen. But baby, if you ain't gonna be honest about what we saw, and if you ain't gonna tell us about everything that happened, and you ain't gonna give us the behind the scenes on all of it, then I don't want none of it. Okay? I don't want none of it. But that's why I'm just be honest with y'all. And so what I mean by that is everybody has their point of view. So Kandi has her point of view. Dr. Heavenly has her point of view. So I don't think that they lie intentionally, but I think that their point of view is skewed because it's their point of view and they were there. But Karen just be lying. And y'all know I like her. I like the grand dame, but Karen be lying. Okay? Like Sheree lied last night and tried to say that she knew about them DMs. Hell, Martel said he didn't even remember the DMs, child. Just lying. Anyway, um, Melody posted and deleted a video with Carlos and Martel all hugged up at an event. I thought it was interesting that this week Melody called Martel a queen. I found that to be interesting. I hope Melody is not going to go down that road. Um, I just I hope she doesn't go down that road. I don't think that would be a good look for her. Um, and at this point, Melody has the high ground. Most people have sided with Melody. Most people defend Melody and have Melody side in this. So I don't. She doesn't need to do that. She doesn't need to go there because she right now has the um. She has public opinion. You know what I'm saying? So she doesn't need to go there, even if because she just don't need to go there. I'm not even gonna go down there. She don't need to go there. But anyway, let's get into these notes. Let's get into these notes. Um, let me get into these notes. Okay. Carlos said that people come up to him all the time talking about they want Martell and Mel to get back together. First of all, Carlos, who the hell coming up to you saying that? Who's saying that, Carlos? Who is watching this show and been watching this show from day one and is walking up to you saying they want the two of them to get back together. I don't believe you. Now, do I think that maybe one or two people have come to you over the time? Okay, maybe. But Carlos made it seem like people just walk up to him at the bars, at the restaurants, when he on planes sitting next to him. He was like, people all the time say that. Bushy. Lisa, yeah, that's what Kenya said. Kenya did say that about maybe she brought it up so it wouldn't get flipped on her. And that's a valid point too, because Kenya definitely has gotten a bad rap when it comes to other people's men. Now that's true. That's valid. I don't believe that. Now, again, I ain't outright calling Carlos a liar, but I think she might have been. I think Carlos might have been, and I didn't mean to say she. I wasn't being misgendering. I think he may have been stretching the truth. He might have had one or two people, but who came up to you and said that? And here's my problem. Hey, princess, what's up, my love? And I didn't forget about your offer to help me do some editing. I didn't forget. I just really haven't had the time. Every time I sit down, I haven't had time to play around with it. But I didn't forget. Thank you again. Let me say this. I don't want Melody or Martell to ever misunderstand or mistake your relationship with Carlos. Because the fact that Carlos can even entertain that conversation with people tells you that he only cares about producing a show, and he really don't give a damn about either one of y'all on a personal level. Because there is, from what we see as the outside looking in, and Carlos has a bird's eye view of all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're not going to sit here and tell me that you think that their relationship is on any level of healthy at all. Even when they were together, it wasn't healthy. So why would you even bring that up? Why would you even say that in an interview with Martell? But he wanted to get Martell's he really wanted Martell's reaction to that, because again, he's playing up this whole narrative that Martell really wanted to get back with Melody, which I'm not saying isn't true. I'm just saying that's something that's out there. Um and Martell basically was like, listen, right now we can't even look at each other too long without it being an argument. So I ain't even gonna talk about nothing more than that, because we can't even entertain, we can't even be around each other without it being a problem. You know what I'm saying? So I will say that, Martell, he gave the PC answer for that one. So then we get into the whole court order with Melody. Now listen, let me say this, and I love y'all. It's 153 of y'all in this room, and I love all of y'all. Before I get into these notes, please know I am just reading the notes. I am reading what Martell said. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. Don't don't start this. We ain't gonna start it, okay? Because I already know that when I start reading these notes, y'all the millimeters or whatever, y'all gonna get to going. Be mad at Martell. He said it. I'm just repeating it. So Martell said that Melody was not following the court order, and that he said that the fact that they are now in a place where Melody has um where Melody is being forced to follow the court order, things are better because she's following the court order now. He said that before she wasn't doing what the court order said, and that's where the problem was. He said that's why he had to take her to court. He said he didn't want to have to take her to court, but that's why he took her to court. Again, I'm just telling y'all what this man said. I ain't saying I agree or disagree. I'm just telling you what this man said. Now he brought up this whole. He said that now Melody does call him if she's gonna be out of town, and he does. She does call him first. She has given him right of first refusal, which he said is all he wanted to begin with. Now let me say this: if I am saying if, let me say that one more time with the people in the back. If Let me say that again. Because I feel like I need to say this one more time. If that was the language that was written in their separation agreement or divorce decree or whatever custody agreement, then he had a right to want to enforce it. And I don't know if it's true that he has it now. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Now, Martell said, as it relates to the party, Martell said that he was invited to the party. He said that his daughter emailed him and told him that Melody said he could come to that Melody said he could come to the party, and he said that he has the email to prove that Mariah emailed him and said that he was invited to come to the party. He said that either Mel is lying or Mel is saying that my daughter is a liar. One of the two. He said either she lied or she's saying my daughter's a liar. He said that the other thing was, well, he don't have a phone number. you know, Martell don't have Mel's phone number. So I guess that's how they talk to him is through email. Because they don't have cell phones either. Well, at least I don't think they do. I don't think they might have cell phones now. I don't know. But they didn't have cell phones and he didn't have Mel's phone number. They communicated through email. That's how he talked to his kids, through email. Now that is one of the things that the judge. Now I read that the judge did tell Mel that was ridiculous, but again, um, he said that the kids do now. Okay, the kids have cell phones now. Okay, now he also said that the day of the party, he said if it was such an issue, Melody saw him outside. He said he parked a couple of doors down from Mel, and that the kids came over and talked to him, and that Mel saw him there, and Mel never said anything to him like, "Why are you here? You're not supposed to be here. You aren't invited." He said Mel waited until I went inside and was walking around. She waited until my kids already saw me and everything before we had that conversation. Now, I ain't saying he's telling the truth. I'm just telling y'all what the man said. Now, what I am going to say is this. Yeah, but remember, they filmed this before they went back to court. Let me say this. The more Martell talked, the less I believed his version of the story. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the more he talked, he started talking about what he thinks should happen, what he thinks she should do, what he thinks he's entitled to. So the more and more he talked, the less and less he talked about the fact that he was invited, and the more and more he talked about the fact that he just feels like this is the right thing to do. Our kids, I shouldn't have to have a separate party for my kids. We should all celebrate together. I mean, if it were me, I would do that for Mel. See, what you got to do, Martell, is stop talking about what you would do, because here's the difference. There's a difference between what somebody is obligated to do and what is courtesy for somebody to do. And I think that's where you got the game messed up, Martell. You keep acting like Melody is obligated to extend a courtesy to you, and she's not. The reality of the situation is you all's lives will never be the same. You all may never get to a point where that is the norm for you. And you just gonna have to accept it. You know why you gotta accept it? Because that is the new normal. That is the situation you created because you couldn't control your dick. Okay? That's just that. Should y'all be able to have one party and not have to spend money on two parties? Sure, in a perfect world. But guess what? That's not the situation. That's just not what it is. And you've got to stop feeling like Melody is obligated to do what you want her to do or do it the way you want her to do it. So for you to say, I don't think that I should have to, and I don't think that she should, and I don't think that That's so don't nobody give a what you think. Nobody gives up what you think, sir. And the reality is, you can't expect somebody to do for you what you do for them. If I am the type of person, and listen, I've had to learn this lesson myself. I've had to learn this lesson for myself. You can't expect what you would do for somebody to be what they would do for you. Everybody ain't the same. Everybody just ain't the same. And you know, even if, and again, I ain't saying I believe what Martell is saying, y'all, but even if Martell is like, well, she if I was having a party, I would invite Mel. Okay, but that don't make her obligated to invite you. I mean, it just ain't. I just and so I'm listening to Martell, and the more I listen to Martell, the more I'm just like, you really have an inflated sense of what somebody is supposed to do for you. You know, now this is his reason for not picking her up later. He said, I didn't pick her up later because, and again, see, this is the thing with Martell. Martell, you need to just stop because you give a good answer, but then you keep talking. See, you'll give a good answer and then you keep talking. So when Carlos said, well, Mel on this last episode, Mel played, the audio, and you said you weren't gonna pick your daughter up. And Martell gave a great answer, right? I was like, well, that actually makes sense what he just said. But then he just kept fucking talking. So what he said was, it was about the celebration. He said, Mel knew I didn't have anything planned for to do with Mariah. I wanted to be there for the party. It wasn't, he said, I had already planned to take them to see the little YouTube girl that they like. I already had tickets for that. So I'd already had their birthday celebration. I already had something to do. It wasn't about seeing her on her birthday. It was about being a part of the party and being a part of the celebration. And I said, that's a good explanation. That's a good reason why he ain't want to get her later on that night, because it was never about spending time with her on her birthday, even though that's what you said on camera. That's what you said. You said that. But it was about the celebration. But then you kept talking, Martell. Because you know what you said? You said, and she ain't gonna control me. She's talking about you can come and get her at 5 o'clock. You ain't gonna tell me when I can come and pick her up or when I can see her. You don't control me. I might have had plans at 5 o'clock. See, that's your real answer. You didn't like the fact that Melody was dictating to you when you could see her. That's what you were upset about. Okay. Then he went on to say, well, she really should have let me have the kids anyway because she had them last year and she wouldn't even let me talk to them on their birthday last year. And it was my year last year, but because of that investigation, I didn't have the kids. Remember when he allegedly he hit the boy and there was a whole investigation and he didn't have the kids for like a month or something, however long, 6 weeks or something like that. He said he didn't have the kids. So he was like, so for real, she really should have, it should have been my year anyway because I didn't have them last year. So again, this is about power and control. You keep talking. You keep talking, Martell, and you keep telling on yourself. You keep talking and you keep telling on yourself. All right, let me finish up. We've been here for an hour. I didn't mean to be here this long, so let me finish these notes up, child. I got carried away because Martell be making me want to smack him. I ain't lying, he do. Um, Child. So then he started talking about him and Sheree. Him and Sheree met through Anthony. Y'all remember messy ass Anthony last season that allegedly worked for Drew and worked for Sheree and was talking shit to Sheree about Drew and was talking shit to Drew about Sheree? Y'all remember him? Child, that is how. Martell and Sheree met allegedly. I said, I said, really? And then this is where I said, this is where I said, well, I'm gonna say this. Oh, I put this one thing on here. Oh, Martell. Oh yeah, let me say this too before we, because this is the last part is about him and Sheree. Let me go back to the text messages for one quick second. I mean, let me go back to Real Housewives of Atlanta for one quick second. Remember when? Remember when Mayetta brought up the fact that he was allegedly dating her friend, and Martell was like, "No, it wasn't. What you talking about? I'm with Sheree. Every time I come to town, I'm with Sheree. Blah 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 blah." But again, Martell, you kept talking. You kept talking, and what you said was, I might have been coming to town. I might have been fucking, but I wasn't dating. And there's a difference between fucking and dating. I said, so then you were messing around with Mayetta's friend. Just in your mind, all it was sex. And in her mind, maybe she thought y'all was really trying to date. So you playing semantics. But what could we expect? Because you play semantics with your own damn marriage. Because I will never forget. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all, for as long as this show is in existence, I will never ever forget Martell Holt standing on top of that boat with at Kimmy and Maurice's wedding, and him and Melody were having that conversation about his extramarital affair. And I will never forget when he called that woman, his girlfriend. He said it. He said that was his girlfriend, and Melody said, "Your girlfriend." And this fool was like, "Yeah." And then he caught himself. And he had to try to backpedal and pussy pop. I said, "Oh, so sir, you was playing games with your marriage. So you sat there, and again, you kept talking because nobody asked you to clear that up. So basically, you admitted that you were still sleeping with people in Atlanta, but in your mind, you weren't dating them." Anyway, let's get to these last couple of comments, child, about Sheree, child. Now, Carlos was asking him questions about more specific details about him and Sheree, their first date. He couldn't remember their first date. He started telling one story, and then he said, "Oh no, that's not what it was. No, no, no. Our first date was." And then he gave this whole story about him coming to Atlanta, and she was trying to play him, and he gave this whole elaborate story, right? Then he said, and even in that story, I could dig holes in that story, but I was like, I'm listening. I'm like, again, it still doesn't sound like, because he made it seem like I came to Atlanta to see her because we have been talking for a while, and I came to see her. But then the more he was telling the story, it sounded more like you were in town with your boys and decided. Then you said you was with Anthony, and because Anthony was like, "Don't get mad, she not playing you," blah blah blah. So even in that story, I could pick it apart, but I don't want to be too petty about it, and y'all be like, "You putting 20 on 10," so I don't want to be too petty. But it was some holes in that story too. Um, but when Carlos was asking you those questions, you got real quiet, and you were like, uh. I mean, I don't want to say the wrong thing. And at first, I was like, you don't want to say the wrong thing, like you don't want to say too much, like stuff that's gonna play out on the show, or. But the more Carlos kept asking him questions and he didn't have the answers to it, I felt like, do you not have the answers because you don't remember the story you and Sheree came up with? And at one point, he even said to Carlos, "Call Sheree. Go ahead and call Sheree because I just don't want to say the wrong thing. She'll know what to say." See, I tell y'all this all the time. Judge Judy told me that if you have, listen, Judge Judy told me that if you're telling the truth, you ain't got to have a good memory because the truth don't change. If y'all first date was Netflix and chill, which is what he said at first, he said at first date at first was he went over her house. That was their first date. And then that's when he switched it up. Oh no, no, it wasn't. I met her, we were out, I was in town with my boys, blah blah blah. But then he gave this whole nother story. It was something else Carlos asked him and he didn't have an answer to. It was something else. I don't remember what it is, but it was something else and she didn't have an answer to. I mean, he didn't have an answer to it, and that's when he was like, "Well, go ahead and call her Carlos, because she'll know what to say." Child, if you tell them the truth, you ain't gotta have a good memory. That's it. That's all. What did Xavier say? Let me see what Princess talking about. Xavier, hold on, let me scroll it up. Why he hanging with Anthony? Listen, I said the same thing. I mean, of all people, Anthony messy ass. And then that night that you would try to catch up with Sheree, you were with Anthony that night because you even said, and well, I can say you were with Anthony, you were in contact with Anthony that night because you even said that Anthony was like, "Don't she not trying to play you." He was like, "I told Anthony I ain't like that. I ain't like that. That was making me mad. That irritated me." And if y'all go back and listen to that story, y'all tell me if I'm tripping. Y'all go back and listen to that story. You can hear in his voice where he got mad at Sheree. He was like, "I ain't like that." Y'all know how he get. I ain't like that. I'm like that. You got that. That's respect. You see, you know I'm here, and you because he said that when he finally did catch up with her, because he said that they went to one spot. Sheree said she was at one spot, and by the time he got there, she wasn't there, and she went to another spot. And he said that's he was like, and that's when he was like, "Oh, she trying to play me. She trying to play me." And Anthony was like, "She not playing you. She not playing with you." So either you were in contact with Anthony or you was with Anthony, one of the two. So then he said he went to the second spot, and that's when at the second spot, that's when um um he said that she was talking to other guys, and he was like, "I ain't like that. That was disrespectful. Like, you know, I'm here to see you, and you talking to other guys in front of me." And y'all know how Martell is. That's when he gets to talk about respect, and that's not respectful. You be a disrespect. Y'all know how he get to talk, and I don't listen. I don't even know how Martell mouth can form the word respect, child. I don't even know how it can come out his mouth. Okay. Exactly. Exactly, y'all. All of y'all in the chat, I'm agreeing with everything y'all saying. Not a triangle with Sheree, Martell, and Anthony. Child, listen. I'm just saying. When he gets in Ike Turner mode, it's so scary. It is. He does snap. He does. He definitely does snap. All right, y'all. Let me get out of here. Do not forget that in about 30 minutes, we will be on Giving You the Real Tea channel for the Whether You Like It or Not panel, where we're going to probably talk about this shit all over again. But I told y'all after tonight, I ain't talking about this DM gate no more. I don't care. I ain't talking about DM gate no more. Okay. Um, and with that being said, I'm about to get out of here. I will talk to y'all later. Once again, L Love, thank you so much for the Cash App, sweetheart. I appreciate it so much.